Chapter 8, Power Station Road. Marion was sweeping ash from the carpet by the fire. Nadine knelt down beside her and began picking up the larger chunks of burnt wood and ash. Ma, she started, trying to keep her voice steady. Can you take me up to Katie's place? Katie who? Her mother asked. She's a friend from school. That's good, Marion responded. Good to hear you've made a friend at last. It took all her willpower not to snap at her mother and remind her that before Ted, she had lots of friends before they came to this hellhole. She was always out at friends' houses. Before her stupid mother took up with the escaped guard from some concentration camp, she had a normal life. Well, kind of. Instead, she said, yeah, she's nice. Anyway, we are doing this project together and she has all the stuff, so I need to go over there to work on it. Well, said Marion, brushing her hands on her pants, I'm sure it'll be okay. I'll have to ask Ted. No, Nadine exclaimed, and when her mother looked sharply at her, she began again. No, because he's out all day and I need to go now, today. We have to work on it today because Katie's going away for a few days. Nadine's heart beat furiously. So, can you take me? Marion sighed, getting up from the hearth. I suppose I have to. Where does she live? Power Station Road, Nadine said quickly. Well, that's not too far. Thanks, Ma, Nadine said, her heart lighter. I have to do some chores first and then can we go, like after lunch? All right, and will Katie's parents bring you home? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Nadine's uncertainty faded when she decided she would make her own way back. Yeah, they will bring me home. It was settled. Marion would take Nadine to where she needed to go. It was quite fortunate for them that Katie lived up Power Station Road. As Nadine went back out to her brothers, she smiled. Phase 2 complete. Now all she had to do was wait until midday. Then she would do her part of the plan. Nadine sat in the front of the car, legs crossed, her school bag in front of her. When she had been younger, she and Marion would always play games when they travelled. Eyes spy, spot the blue car. What's this nursery rhyme? But since Ted came on the scene, there had been none of that. He liked silence when he drove. Now, Marion had got in the habit of driving silently, and Nadine hated it. She hated everything about their new life, and she hated what she had done. What he had done to their old life. Sometimes her anger was so intense she felt like she had acid inside her. She wanted to smash stuff, smash things, people, him most of all, but she couldn't because he was so strong and she was afraid of him. Is this the place? Her mother asked, peering out of her side window. Yes, Nadine lied. That white and blue house over there. She pointed to a house nestled into the side of a hill. Just drop me here. A look of concern flashed over Marion's face. Nadine saw it. Don't worry, Ma. It's easier to walk up than take the car. It'll probably get stuck. You go and I'll see you later. She got out of the car and slammed the door. See ya. Nadine waved her mother away and began to walk toward the direction of the imaginary Katie. When the car had disappeared, Nadine turned around and headed toward another place. Long grass grew up the middle of the driveway, and on either side parallel rutted tracks ran on. It was the right place because the name had been painted roughly on the letterbox. Martin had managed to get the name off Ted this morning. Warren Grimshaw was his name, and he'd lived in the area for about 6 years. Played rugby and was a pretty good hunter, Ted had said. Told the boys that they'd get a go at hunting with Warren. If they behaved themselves, of course. Typical of Ted to make something so disgusting as killing seem like a privilege. She snorted and shook her head. Getting angry about him now was not useful. She needed to focus on what she was doing. Nadine didn't know where to walk. The grass down the middle, which was filled with sticky paspalum and cowpats, or the muddy track. She eventually settled on the tracks because, although they made her boots a mess, at least she could see where she was placing her feet. She'd worked it all out, what she would say to him. She'd say, "Hi," tell him her name was Jess and that she went to the local school and they were doing a mini census of the district, and could he please answer a few questions. Questions like, how many animals did he have? How much did he spend on food, and so on. This was in case he was actually home. If he wasn't, which is what Nadine was hoping for, then that would be even better. She heard the dogs before she had even sighted the house. It sounded like there were heaps of them. Nadine listened hard for a familiar bark, but couldn't tell if Hawkeye was there. She walked on, nerves dancing in her stomach. She clutched her school bag tightly and prayed she would be able to go through with it all. The house was a long way from the road. It was small, wooden and run down. Clumps of grass grew in the gutter and a large rainwater barrel leaked water over the broken path. Nadine walked carefully up to the front door and knocked. No sound came from inside the house. She knocked again, hopeful. Nothing. "Hello," she called. The only response was the increased noise from the dogs. She walked back down the steps, crossed the lawn and walked around the back. What a tip. A rubbish bag had been got into by one of the dogs and its contents were strewn across the back lawn. There were crates and crates of empty beer bottles and various rotten cardboard boxes stacked at the back door. Nadine screwed up her nose. Despite the cold, she could smell the long drop and hear the flies. Further back, sheltered under large trees, were rows upon rows of dog kennels. The noise was intense, but the barking wasn't the sound she was used to. The sound of dogs saying welcome or watch it, I'm on guard. This barking was sad, frustrated, desperate. It made Nadine swallow thickly. The poor things. She went over to the kennels, crooning softly. It didn't stop the racket, but some of the dogs lay down and wagged their tails. All of them looked as though they were starving, and all of them were dogs with thick heads and shoulders. Some large, some smaller, but all were breeds known for their fighting spirit. Nadine noticed that the kennels were in an appalling state and that only a few of the dogs had water. She had to will herself not to get stuck in and fix it, but she had a job to do, find Hawkeye. She knew it would be a waste of time calling or whistling for her dog, so she quickly went down the rows searching. With a mixture of relief and despair, she realized that Hawkeye was not among these dogs. She began to walk back towards the house when she realized the tone of barking had changed. With horror, saw a ute bounce up the driveway. He was coming home.